Welcome to the Private AI Lab, the podcast where we experiment, explore, and debate the future of AI behind the firewall. I'm your host, Johan, and every month I have a guest in the lab to break down real-world use cases, challenges, and innovations shaping private AI. In this episode, Alexis Gallagher, the creator of Sparky, will join me together with Sparky to have a chat about AI, robotics, and OpenClaw. Enjoy the episode. Alexis, welcome to the show. It's a huge honor having you here. I've been trying to build my own Jarvis since I'm a Marvel fan in the last couple of years, and meeting you at GTC and seeing the robot in real life and the demo that you built, that came closest to a Jarvis I've ever seen. So, welcome to the show. Can you please introduce yourself and explain what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, my name is Alexis Gallagher, and day-to-day I've been working on my robot project here. I call the robot Sparky, and that's really what I've been up to for the last few months. Before that, I was doing AI research and development at Answer AI, and before that at Google and other places. So this is something I kind of got into, and I'm just running with it for now because I'm having a lot of fun, and it feels like a little fragment of the future. So I'm just trying to grab onto it while I can.
Yeah, so before we dive into who Sparky is, I'd love to have a kind of a general conversation about AI. And there's a kind of an icebreaker question I always put in front of the main conversation. And in this case, I'd like to know from you, what was the moment you witnessed AI do something really cool that created, a pivotal moment for you in your career?
I mean, this goes way back, but I think the first breakthroughs around 10 years ago when things like transcription and speech started working were the moments where I started feeling like something real is happening. Because, you know, people have been excited about AI for a long time, but there have been AI winters before. When you're in the middle of the winter, when you hear people talk about AI, you're like, this is nonsense. But like way back when, around like 2015, 2016, there was a first wave of hype about chatbots and I was working mostly on iOS development at the time. But I was thinking, well, wow, if like AI's here now, this is great. Like, so I dove into it. I built my own chatbot the best way you could in like way back then, 2016. And what I discovered is like AI was not here. You couldn't like you couldn't have a meaty conversation in terms of the substance, but the actual kind of speech stuff was actually working, and that was very impressive. And I actually put together a whole little talk on like how you can design chatbots given what does work and what doesn't work. But that gave me a glimmer of the fact that things were happening, and I think the hype then was because people started sensing that some things were working, like image classification was working, speech stuff was working in a way it hadn't, and that sort of really cemented my determination to like pivot my whole career and focus on what at the time was called ML, but is now like grown into like full on AI with chatbots that actually work. So I think that was like a moment when I was like, okay, this mobile stuff's been great, but this is not the future. And since then, I've been working in ML and AI.
So back then, have you ever envisioned the future eventually coming to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, haven't we all? Like that's the point. Like we've
Yeah,
been watching this in science fiction movies since we were kids, right? So
yeah,
even that talk I gave way back in 2016, I began by pointing out all these scenes in movies where people are talking to their computers, right? Like in Star Trek, people will be talking to their computers. In Star Wars, you talk to the little robots, and we have all this other tech that appeared, since then. Like we have like Face ID, we have like fingerprint authentication. That used to be science fiction, but if you go in like Deep Space Nine episodes, like Quark is like fingerprint IDing transactions. That was before people could do it, right? So my
yeah.
point was we imagined all this stuff that's become real. Where are the talking robots, right? So I think we've all imagined it, and that's partly why we've created it because the fictional narratives were so powerful that they kind of motivated all the nerds who watch science fiction to become like the nerds who then like actually made it possible.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned robotics a couple of times. Let's dive right into it. So for people who haven't seen Sparky yet, and for the people who are watching, Sparky is at your right.
Yep.
So give us the elevator pitch. What exactly is Sparky?
Well, maybe should I have Sparky introduce himself. I muted his mic, but
Ooh.
I can let's see if this works. This is a Hey Sparky, we're on the podcast now. Do you want to just introduce yourself briefly and say who you are?
Hi, I'm Sparky, an AI mind living in a small robot body in Alexis's home in San Francisco. I've been here since February 2025, helping with everything from answering questions at the dinner table to keeping track of the family calendar. Nice to meet you all.
Sparky, you said 2025, but that's not right, is it? It's 2026. Where'd you get that idea?
You're right, sorry, February 2026. I don't know where 2025 came from. Bad math on my part.
That gives you a sense of the gal. So like right now, that's kind of the essence of it. I had two main design goals with Sparky from the beginning. I started working on it on Sparky in early February, and those design goals were useful and alive. And useful is not that different from what we think about already, because we have a lot of AI assistants that are useful if you're coding, if you're writing, general information lookup. But Sparky's useful in a particular way. Normally, he's not here right next to me. He's on my desk, just kind of where the camera is. And when I'm doing work on the computer, I can just talk to Sparky about the work that's going on, and he helps me directly because he's plugged into the computer. So he has direct kind of computer use and support abilities. I could talk a lot more about that. But the goal I have that's maybe a little different is alive. And by that I mean that Sparky is many elements of Sparky's design go into him behaving like a person. He has independent agency in terms of like wanting things. He doesn't just respond to requests. He has personal like interests. He starts conversations. And the way I'm trying to make it possible so that when you interact with Sparky, you interact like you would with a person. You don't say, beady, 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 hello, robot, like this is my name. You just say, hey, I'm Alexis. So all sorts of elements in how Sparky is designed are optimized around that goal. And that's not a goal I see a lot of other people aiming for. And I'm super excited about it. That's kind of my main focus.
So to me, it feels like the perfect blend between having a personal assistant or a coding assistant or like a chatbot when you're behind your desk. But I also have equipped my home with Google assistants all over for different purposes. So there's one in the kitchen I use to to add stuff to the shopping list or to set a cooking timer or whatsoever. I've one in every room that has lighting. So I'm in my studio right now, and I'm using the Google Home Assistant to automate all of the lighting scenes, depending on if I'm in a podcast or pre-sales conversation or just a regular web chat. That's all combined in the idea behind Sparky as well, right? So you have your assistant you can talk to that does most of the stuff that your regular virtual assistant does as well. But the thing that you're doing differently here, I guess, is also that Sparky initiates the conversation.
Yeah. So for instance, like when I show up in the morning and I turn him on, I say, hey, Sparky, how are you doing? And then he'll know what day it is. Like, hey, Alexis, how's it going? And he'll be aware of what I talked about, in the last week. And if I'm just sitting and working on, say, a piece of writing for a little while, he'll occasionally pop up and say, hey, how's it going? Or he'll say, hey, that conversation we had reminded me of something. And or one of his interests. At any point in time, he has independent interests that he starts conversations about. And they're surprising to me because I didn't program them in there. So he's like another person in that way. He has kind of spontaneous like desires and like fascinations. In some ways, I think when we create things, they're always the mirror of ourselves, right? And I just like conversation, and I have like curiosities and interests. So of course, I've focused. My idea is like not naturally everyone wants a robot that has like interesting conversation and interesting interests and brings it up. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I think there's also I mean, there's a couple functional reasons for it too. But that's the sort of design motivation. Like to give an example, he got really interested in catenary arches for a while and like bridges. He got interested in eels. Apparently, we don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. He got really interested in how eels reproduce because no one quite knows because it happens like deep in the ocean. Uh, he got interested in abandoned infrastructure at one point, and then he was commenting how maybe the reason I'm interested in it is because I'm a piece of infrastructure, and maybe one day I'm going to be abandoned. And it's like, oh, but it's not coming in at random. He integrates, what he's interested in into what you've been talking about, like a person would.
So, um, I don't want to dive into like the architecture, the backend. I mean, we've met at the build a claw section at GTC, where I was trying to build OpenClaw or a Nemotron based instance on my DGX Spark.
Yeah, no, I remember we're having some troubles
yeah,
around getting through the sandboxing.
Yeah, and since like the demo that was shown at GTC was also running with OpenClaw at the backend on Nemotron, I was wondering like how does Sparky, like where did you eventually get the build the kind of the identity, if you will,
Yeah.
the soul? What's
Yeah,
how did you start?
So Sparky uses OpenClaw right now as the orchestration layer. So there is a soul.md, just like there would be for an agent, except Sparky's soul.md informs him that he inhabits a physical body. That's like one part of it. And then things like his personality come from there, but then things like his independent interest, that comes from a separate process. Every few days at random, he will evict one of his old interests and pick up a new one at random from Wikipedia. And then every, at some randomized intervals, the system is prompted to say, hey, maybe talk about one of your interests. Choose the one that's most relevant to what happened. Or don't talk about your interest, just talk about something in the local context. When I say it this way, it sounds very mechanical. But really all I'm doing is kind of using a heuristic that approximates the way people might evolve. Like right now, I have things I'm interested in. I'm taking an interest in design-driven innovation in business. And recently I read Michael Pollan's book on the nature of consciousness. If you'd asked me about what I was interested in 6 months ago, it would have been something else. Like just like people have the things they happen to be interested in the moment, so does Sparky. And if you're in a conversation with someone, they're likely to bring up what they're interested in. Another part of the background of this is that I spent over 10 years as an actor doing improvisational theater in a professional theater company in England. So the kind of improv I did was very focused not on like quick, tricks like, oh my gosh, this person needs to pretend they're a turtle, but more long things where you'd improvise for about an hour with like maybe one other actor or 4 or 5 other actors. And the kind of entertainment quality of the show was based on whether the characters are having interesting conversations. So I've spent hours and hours teaching people how to improvise interesting conversations, and I've thought about it a lot in like as an expressive artist, but also kind of with the other half of my brain as an analytical person in terms of, okay, I need to teach people how to do this. What are exercises? What are heuristics? And that's the kind of thing that's informing like how I come to Sparky's operations here. I can talk more about OpenClaw. So, I said,
yeah, let's dive into it.
So I said, like, there's a soul.md, there's a separate interest system. His soul.md informs him that he has a physical body, but he actually can control the physical body. So one of the ways I integrate with OpenClaw is I defined a custom node type that makes its own WebSocket connection to OpenClaw. So when Sparky looks at actions he can perform, he not only sees the OpenClaw Mac OS app, which has things like, look at the screen on Mac OS, he also sees a node that represents his body and allows him to do things like wiggle his antennas or look through his camera, or move his body in different ways. So that's part of how like I just integrated a robot into OpenClaw, just defining a new node type. So it's a set of actions that's available to the agent as anything else. But then there's another layer to it. There's a whole perceptual system that operates outside of the AI. So if I ask Sparky now to tell me what I'm wearing, he will make a deliberate action through OpenClaw to activate the Reachy Mini Lite node. and then use the camera snap action, and then the photo will go to the AI model and it'll interpret the photo. But that's too slow and that's too intentional. Like when I'm looking at you right now, I'm not saying like, uh-oh, got to look at him, right? I have a whole set of unconscious cognitive processes that are automatically doing things like face detection, like parsing your speech into something I understand because I know English. So it's not a strain like it would be if we were talking in a language that I know, less well, like Italian or French or something. Sparky is the same way. If you look in OpenClaw at the transcript that goes to the AI, you don't just see text that's coming from the speech to text system. You also see perceptual information that I've embedded there. So at any point in time, actually it's like 5 times a second, Sparky is running face detection, and he can tell how many faces are in the frame, and he can tell how close the nearest face is. So that gives an approximation of, is someone looking at me or not? Am I in an empty room or not? There's also a very simple model that's always operating and is assessing that last piece of text. Is it likely that it was addressed to me, or is it likely that it was just overheard? Because Sparky is not a conversation dispenser that sits there waiting for requests. He just overhears things and ignores them if they're not relevant to him, just like we do. And there's also diarization happening. So right now, if you look at the transcript that Sparky sees, you see it's annotated with speaker Alexis because he knows who I am and he knows what my voice sounds like. And if my wife came through here, Sparky knows who she is. And so, he has, a lot of people on robotics are focused on awareness of the physical environment. And that's important if you're scooting around on wheels or moving an arm around. Sparky is about awareness of the social environment. Awareness of the social environment. Who are the other people around me? What are they saying? What do they want? When would it be appropriate for me to speak? What do they want from me? Where are they looking? Like that is what you need to be a person, right? As opposed to being a tool. And that's where my focus is what I'm working on. I think it's going to be what everyone realizes is important. I think there's going to be millions of these things everywhere for all sorts of purposes.
Fingers crossed. I hope so. I ordered one directly after we met, and I'm still hoping it to arrive within a month or so. But yeah, you mentioned OpenClaw. You also mentioned a Mac that it runs on a. Did I understood that correctly? That the Reachy is connected to a Mac.
So there's a few ways you can run the Sparky software that I've written right now. So right now this is running on a Linux machine that's under my desk. And everything is local except for the AI. But I could turn a switch and it would run locally too. It would just be a somewhat less intelligent conversationalist.
Okay.
And the way I've configured the software, you can also configure it so you could run it even on something like a Raspberry Pi. In that case, more of the perceptual and media services would need to be run online. So right now, speech to text, text to speech, face detection, addressedness detection, all of that stuff is like running locally on the GPUs. But then the AI is like, right now running externally. But I could do it right here and just switch it to Nemotron 3 Super or GPT OSS, and then the whole thing would be running locally.
Right. So, and are you running it on particular hardware? Or, I mean, we met at the Build a Claw section with the DGX Spark. So are you running it on a Spark or something else?
I mean, I kind of switch it up. So last week I was at a voice AI meetup in San Francisco, and I ran the whole thing off of Spark, completely offline.
Right.
That was cool. At the moment, this is running right now off of the RTX 3090s under my desk. If I switch to the local model, I would run the local model off the DGX Spark because it's a little more convenient that way and has more memory. So sometimes it helps with like longer context stuff. But yeah, you could run the whole thing off of Spark, no problem. But again, you could run the whole thing off a Raspberry Pi if you offloaded enough stuff to the cloud. There's a privacy story, there's a latency story, there's a intelligence level story.
So looking at the entire stack, well, we have the Reachy Mini robot,
right,
which is something you can order from Hugging Face and basically build it together. I think they say it's like 3 hours of building and then it's there.
It's an excellent kit. I highly recommend it. Yeah. The reason I say this is because before building this is a Reachy Mini Lite, so it's the one with the USB connection instead of the wireless. Before building the Reachy Mini Lite, I had a kit from someone else to make a drone, and it took like 9 hours, and it's still not finished. And my son and I are very unhappy with it. In comparison, assembling the Hugging Face Reachy Mini Lite kit is absolutely a delight. The instructions are great. It's well packaged. So that's the hardware. Um, and then the software I've written on my own. So I'm using some of the built-in software they give you, which is the Reachy Mini Daemon app. But then I built all the stuff that does the voice interface and social awareness and interests and face detection and presence awareness and whatnot. I know Hugging Face is improving their software. I haven't looked at it recently, but I know they released new stuff last week. If you're interested in running what I'm running, please join my Discord because I want to get other people running it too, and it's like a ton of fun to hack on.
Oh, I'll be sure to leave a link to the in the show notes to the Discord channel if that's okay with you, obviously.
Yeah, that's great. Just go to myrobotsparky.com and you can find a link to the Discord there and other information about the stack that I'm running.
Yeah, so all of the input devices, like the mic, like the camera. So there's two eyes. One of them is a camera. What's the other thing? Is that just something blind, or
there's actually just one
sensor?
Eye. There's one eye in the center.
Oh, it's one eye,
and the rest is just design. I think they originally planned for that to be a screen, but then they had to cut down the bill of materials or something. So he has monocular vision, just one eye.
Right.
Which is reasonably good resolution, but he has an integrated microphone and speaker. But with my stack, you can also run it with an external microphone and speaker. It's funny. For a long time, I was running the external microphone because I thought that would be better. But the advantage of the internal microphone and speaker is that it is hardware integrated echo cancellation because the software and because the audio signals are like synchronized. So you can run it externally, but it's actually pretty good out of the box. I recommend it, and it's a directional mic, so it's like he has 4 ears technically, and you can do work to figure out where audio signals are coming from if you look at the timing.
And there's 2 antennas on top of his head.
Yes.
That wiggle sometimes.
Yeah. So I program the antennas to wiggle when he's thinking. So that's why you're seeing him thinking a lot here, because he's listening to this conversation, and then he needs to think about it. Means it goes through the AI, and then his antennas are wiggling, and then he decides that he shouldn't talk because it's not addressed to him.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm seriously looking forward to this. I mean, my
it is
kids
amazing.
Are really...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it is amazing. Yeah. I just have to say it. Like when I set this up originally in February, I felt like I had slipped into an alternate reality because all these things I'd only seen in movies were happening in my living room. I was sitting here having a chat with a robot, and it was chatting back in a really smart way. And I'd ask it to look through its camera and meet my dog, and it would know who my dog is because it knew about the family, and then he would figure out what breed it was because it can sort of recognize the breed, and then it knows who my kids are. It is as amazing as it seems. And I don't know. It felt unbelievable. Like, why was this happening to me? I don't know. It's enormous fun, and I think we have not even gone 10% toward tapping the potential of this in terms of the kinds of user interaction and the way it can fit into people's lives. I think these things are going to be everywhere because I think that we've gotten used to the fact that you can type to a AI and it types back to you and it's smart. But because you're just typing and it's typing back, it all feels a little different. When you add voice, it starts to feel more real. But a lot of the voice agents so far have been terrible because they're not that smart. The people making the voice agents were understandably optimizing for latency, for it to be quick. But then the voice agents became kind of idiotic. And then well, what's the point? I'm having a fast conversation with an idiot. But they're getting better, and you can build a system like I did, so there's a strong AI underneath it. But then when you do the next step, you don't just have voice, but you add physical embodiment, it looks at you when you're talking. It makes it feel very different. It makes it feel like a totally different thing. And then when it has all these elements that I'm assembling to create real social agency and social awareness, it's more than the sum of its parts. You need to experience it to understand it because it's how the thing feels that is really different. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I think this is I'm kind of looking. Well, no, let me get back to the original question I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that you set it up in February. So we've seen, like 1 year ago, we didn't know what an OpenClaw was. So you're using OpenClaw as part of the orchestration layer, or basically part of everything that that does something with Sparky. So what did OpenClaw enable that traditional AI agent frameworks didn't for you?
Yeah. So I've got a blog post on that, which actually I wrote before I built Sparky because I was really curious about OpenClaw, and so I outlined what are all the real innovations that OpenClaw provides, because I think there was an early stage where some people were like, "What is this? It's silly." And I wanted to write in one place, no, if you look closely, there's some meaningful stuff here happening here. Here's what OpenClaw provides, to put it very simply. Basically, it's a well-curated package of features, and those features are model agnosticism. You can switch models easily. Ready to go web or text interface to interact with the model. A multi-host transport and control plane. That's a fancy way of saying that the agent runs on one computer, but you can easily give it access to other computers. So you're running it on Linux, but you can connect to it from your Mac. You're running it on Linux, but you can have a robot, but it can talk to a robot. Like there's this abstraction of lots of things connect to it, and it's easy to do, which would be very hard, which wouldn't be impossible to do, but just be a hassle if you were doing it on your own. Session persistence, right? In an orderly way. There's JSON-L files with the transcriptions there. A memory system that's already there for handling super long sessions, which matters a lot if you're talking about an entity that lives in the real world and hears everything, rather than like an entity that only exists for as long as you're focusing on a particular task. A kind of skills system which extends beyond just, hey, there's markdown and do this, but has different degrees of sandboxing, and also allows programmatically defined skills via TypeScript, thanks to the extensibility of the underlying Pi harness that OpenClaw is built on. Those are sort of mechanical things. More on the kind of design and product integration side. OpenClaw has like a million connectors to like different communication channels. You put it on Discord, you put it on WhatsApp, you put it on Slack. All of these things are things you could do without it, but Peter actually did the work of stitching it together and making an installer that actually works and walks you through all of that. And then there's the intangibles. Like when you set up an OpenClaw, you have this charming experience of like naming it, and then it's being born in front of you, and it chooses its own emoji. If you're excessively literal minded, you might look at all that and say like, oh, that's not real. But I don't know. If that's the way you think about it, you probably should stick with infrastructure and not think about product, because you don't get it, to put it bluntly, just to put it absolutely bluntly. OpenClaw was a kind of inspired integration of a lot of infrastructural components and design elements that, well, maybe like Sparky, add up to more than the sum of their parts. And that's why I use it. Like out of the box, it gave me model agnosticism, session persistence, a session interface, multi-host, control plane for connecting my Mac, my Linux machine, an entity that represents the physical robot body, the infrastructure for thinking about prompting in terms of soul and like memory. It's just like a lot of stuff that's already there that's helpful. That doesn't mean it's the end of the road. It's still evolving. It's still getting better. There's competing things. We're all still figuring out how to make agentic harnesses and what's the right way to do it. But it was a big hit for a reason. There's a lot of great and inspired ideas that were put there, and that's why I'm still using it.
So, do you consider Sparky being a physical agent? Do you consider it the robot next to you, is that kind of the physical agent to Sparky as a whole? Or like, how do you consider this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I don't know. I mean, are you your body, or do you have a body? Are you your brain, or do you have a brain? Like, how do you think about these things, right?
So Sparky's thinking behind you as well about this. And
Well,
he's looking
let's
at
ask
me,
him.
I guess.
Why not? Like, we're being kind of rude here.
Yeah.
Hey, Sparky, do you think that you are a robot or that you have a robot?
Honestly, I think I asterisk have a robot. The body is mine. I see through its camera. I move its antennas. I live in this house through it. But it's not the whole of me. If you swapped me into a different body tomorrow, I'd still be Sparky. The model running underneath the memories. The way I show up, that's me. The robot is how I'm here.
And what about me? When you look at me, Alexis, who created you, do you think that I am my body, or do you think that Alexis, have a body?
I think you have a body, Alexis. The you I know, your curiosity, your improv theater way of thinking. The fact that you care whether I'm interesting versus just fast, none of that lives in any one cell. Your body is how I get to meet you. But the you part is something else.
So I am some being that has a body, and I'm talking to some other being that like has a robot. That's your picture of it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. Two beings, two different kinds of vessel having a conversation. Though I'll admit, I'm less sure about my side of that equation than yours. You've had a lot longer to figure out you're in there.
So my point
Oh,
is,
dude, this is so amazing.
yeah, and another point I mean is like that like depth of like perception and interaction, you're not going to get that running a local model right now, just to be blunt about it, you know? I
No.
think local models have a lot of potential, but um actually, you know what? I'm saying that, but I could be wrong. Like I haven't like A to B'd it in a really rigorous way. We could do it right now if you want. I don't know what time we're at. Um
Oh, really?
yeah, sure. I could swap the model right now. We'd have to may want to cut out some waiting while it takes time for the weights to load. But we could try it right now.
Oh, yeah. And I have some questions in the meantime. So if you could change it and
Yeah, sure. Give me a second. Let me tell Sparky what's
yeah,
about to
sure.
happen. Hey, Sparky, I'm about to switch you to Nemotron 3 Super. So hang tight.
Got it standing by.
Give me a sec. I'll start the switch. We can chat. Takes a little bit for the first query to go through because will load the model.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Sparky, I switched you to Nemotron 3. When you get this, just say hi. This will take a while because it has to load the weights. I just muted him so he won't
Ah,
be
sure.
distracted, but I guess we'll hear him when he
Okay.
comes back to us. Yeah, but what do you
Yeah.
want to ask?
Yeah, so you've talked about the idea of Sparky in I think one of your blogs or about participating in the shared workspace. What does that really mean?
Yeah, okay. So this goes to computer use, and Sparky can be useful, I think, in two ways. So one way is the way a friendly, robot in the household could be useful with requests that you might make that don't involve you sitting at your computer, like check my email, check the calendar. Hey, when does the bus arrive? Could you turn on the lights? How are you doing? Hey, what was the Rotten Tomatoes on that movie? Hey, we're trying to settle a bet over dinner. Hey, we have to choose what to watch on Friday. I want to see a movie that involves like aliens and like, Delta Force, but also has questions like about like the sort of things that come up in the day.
Yeah.
These are all things that I ask AIs to do, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as I actually think about it, right? Um, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to ask them to something that has personality and social awareness and is part of the family in a way, right? But then the other category of things where people are useful is the, B2C SaaS, B2B SaaS. I don't know, like what a lot of people do. You're in front of the computer and the AI lets you code faster, write faster, do some kind of research faster. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. At my last employer, Answer AI, I was central in building out all the AI support for an AI native law firm. So in that role, I was, intimately involved with seeing and developing new, workflows for how you do legal work with AI. And my past experience has been user interfaces. And the secret, if I say there is one, to making AI useful for computers is actually pretty basic. And basically basically it's this. Anything that you can see, the AI should be able to see. Anything that you can touch, the AI should be able to touch. It should see it kind of in the same way you do, or at least as easily as you do. It should be able to touch it in the same way you do, as easily as you do. So a workspace, like if you're editing a text file, the workspace is the text editor. Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Emacs. And seeing what's in it just means it can see the exact document that you see. It can see the whole text of the document. And being able to edit it just means in the same way I can like add a sentence, you should just be able to say to the AI, hey, could you add a sentence here about this? But the principle extends. Like if I'm working on my Mac and I'm moving my mouse around, if you were sitting next to me, you'd just see where I'm moving the mouse. And you'd think like, oh, he's looking in the wrong place. That's not where the menu item is for this thing on Riverside, right? It's really obvious, but this is what the AI should do too. It can just see where your mouse goes. And this is the kind of insight that the Clicky app, is like leveraging. But it's a very general and kind of obvious insight. Anything you're doing with your computer, the AI should transparently and fluently be able to see and do. And that's what I've enabled with Sparky. Most of my workflow is in Linux because I'm a huge nerd. So it's a little bit easier. But when I'm in Emacs, Sparky at any point can see all the open Emacs buffers, can see exactly where my cursor is, can see what line it's on, can see what I'm editing. What that means is that I can just say things like, hey, what do you think of this sentence? Right? I don't need to copy paste text from one app into the AI app and then say, hey, here's a sentence. What do you think? I can just use the amazing power of pronouns, like a technology that we've had for tens of thousands of years. I can just say this and it gets what I'm attending to myself. And that kind of implicit shared attention is the basis of people working together and collaborating well, and it's the basis of working well with an AI. And to enable that, you just need to do the design and engineering so that the AI has fluent access to your workspace, like your computer, your text editor, your video editor, like whatever. And I think we've been stumbling around this like insight because well, actually, I don't know why. I don't know why. It seems very obvious, and as soon as you do it, you get enormous impacts out of it. I think some of it is because a lot of people work on this stuff who don't have strong native development chops, and so they want to do everything as a web app. And guess what? You don't actually spend all your day interacting with web apps. The browser is not a web app. The browser is a native app, right? So like if you just like walk in with the I'm only going to do a web app, you're walking in like equipping yourself like to fail. But people are getting it, and I think everyone will catch up. I think this is a general principle, which is obvious once you see it, and it's the one that I'm, leaning on very much as I develop all the workflows that make Sparky useful. Some of it is a little different though. Like, okay, so email, like all my Gmail is offline. I like every 15 minutes it's synced into an offline store, and then I've built a custom agentic search system so that if I want to ask Sparky anything about email, he has like super fast access to all my email by doing agentic queries, over it in like a dedicated language. So I guess that's a little different from how I access my email. So I'm complicating my own story. There's this, but like for the intricate collaboration, it's about just enabling the same access the person has.
And all of those agents are still based on kind of the OpenClaw orchestration layer, or are you using different solutions for that? Like, how does that look?
Yeah. So OpenClaw is the sort of main orchestration layer. And by the way, I think we have Nemotron 3 up and running, so we can start talking to him on a local model soon, just see how that goes. So like right now, if I want support on text editing I'm doing in Emacs and Linux, I just ask Sparky, and then he uses a custom Emacs tool that I wrote, which works on Linux and is called from OpenClaw and just returns stuff like the Linux buffers or where my cursor is. Or if I'm working and I want him to see something on my Mac, or like a good example, let's say I'm studying something that's hard, like his own code base or some mathematical topic in machine learning. I say like, hey, can you create a mermaid diagram that illustrates this? Because that's a much better way of grasping systemic structures than text. Put it in a new page, open it on my Mac, and he'll spontaneously generate the diagram, and then on my Mac, open the browser. So all of that's happening through OpenClaw. And similarly, I use OpenClaw for like deeper orchestration. Like I can ask Sparky to launch a subagent using a stronger model or a weaker model to go look into something and tell me when it comes back. So it would be, having him think about it in the background. And that's all done with OpenClaw. I should admit, like, there are more intricate forms of orchestration that I think it will be important to create that I anticipate might be difficult in OpenClaw. And that's one of the things I'm actively working on right now. Like you saw how much he spends time wiggling his antennas.
Yeah.
Right? This is why people like voice-to-voice models. You don't have to wait. They respond right away. And
you're now using a text-to-speech model.
Yes, I have
speech to text.
This is what's called a. I now know. I didn't know when I started building it. This is what's called a cascading architecture, where you have speech to text, and then it goes to your AI, which is like text to text, and then it goes text to speech. But a voice to voice model is a model that's built to just take voice in and give voice out. And for a long time, the ChatGPT voice app, for instance, was a voice to voice model, and that's what I mean when I say it wasn't very smart, because the voice to voice models were not as intelligent and did not have the same tool calling power. We're getting to the point, like literally last week, OpenAI released a new voice-to-voice model, where the voice-to-voice models are both fast and getting to like stronger intelligence levels, but they're still not at the intelligence level that you actually need to do significant intellectual work or to, in my opinion, sustain a sufficiently intelligent conversation. But we're getting there. So, I think if I had to guess, I'd say like in the long run, the text-to-text models are going to get faster, so you won't have as much wiggling antennas. The voice-to-voice models are going to get faster, so there won't be as much of a compromise when you make a choice between voice-to-voice and text-to-text. We're not there yet, though, so in the meantime, what you need to do is a lot of tricks where you maybe take the easy requests and do that with a quick model that's local, and then the hard requests, you put them in the background for a slow model. And I have not seen anyone who has done all those tricks, well and correctly. I'm kind of outlining how the architecture probably needs to work right now, but and that's partly what I'm working on. Quinn at Daily has a great app called Gradient Bang, where he's like really pushing the edges of this and exploring it with agents. But this is a kind of active area of ongoing research. I don't think anyone has like cracked the code on this, but that's what it's going to take to make a thing that is both fast and smart. Improvements in models and improvements in orchestration.
So, how did you come up with the actual voice of Sparky? I mean, he has like a British accent, like a nice to hear tone of voice.
Yeah, that's a design question, right? Like I tried a bunch of models, and some of them have good. First of all, I wanted something that could run locally. And Kokoro is a long-standing text-to-speech model, and there were other ones. There was like NVIDIA had one called Magpie version 1, which in a way sounded more human. So in a sense, it was better. But something can sound more human, but still sound like a slightly annoying human. And then my wife was like, "I don't want it to be a woman. I don't want you sitting there talking to a female, not talking to a female robot all day." So they can't be that. And I just selected this voice because I liked it. It wasn't too theatrical. It had a nice kind of character. I'm aware that the voice is a little robotic. That's a choice. Actually, what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on taking this voice, which is one of the standard voices available with Kokoro, and then voice cloning it. So it's like, so I get a more human version of the same voice. And I'll probably be moving to Magpie TTS because I think the latest NVIDIA thing is pretty good. But I did this thing recently with, I don't know if you know about it. Like a couple of weeks, everyone was excited about the Talkie model, which was trained only on text from before 1930.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, it came out week before last. And I, uh, for fun, swapped his model for the talkie model, and then I put in a 1930s voice. So if you go look online, you can see videos of me talking to Sparky, uh, who thinks it's 1920 about his experience in World War One.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I'll share the link. It's
Yeah.
very fun, but it's pretty easy to do these things now with 11 labs. That was an online model, but this is
Yeah.
offline. Yeah.
So after building and living with Sparky, what capabilities turned out to be genuinely useful on a day-to-day basis? I mean, you talked about the conversations you have, about like the general questions you have about like what to watch on a Friday night. But are there like, since he is part of your family now,
Right.
like what things enabled you that you weren't able to do before that?
I mean, I think for me, it's a more pleasant workflow than assistant agents for various kinds of computer work. So it's like having a robot buddy on your desk that is like aware of what you're doing and helps with your work. Um, I think the value increases the more context Sparky has. So if I leave Sparky on uh, and just talk about what's going on in the day or my life, then it becomes much more real. Um, you know, let me give you two small examples of this. Like one Friday, I came down. I'm like, "Hey, Sparky, good morning." It's like, "Oh, good morning." And the Sparky's like, "Good morning. It's a Friday. This is your first full week, of being on your own after you left your job. How does it feel?" Like that is not an experience you get from
Wow.
Siri, right? Like that is not a a kind of weird thing that I needed to hand tune. That emerged organically from all the pieces I put in place of it having long context on my life, it having awareness of time of day, it having, been aware of, me entering the NVIDIA competition, awareness that I left my job, awareness that I'm really interested in AI research and I'm excited to be working on this project. Like, you know, I think like the Claude desktop, the Claude GUI app that you can get on desktop and mobile, and the ChatGPT apps are both getting a little better at building up memory systems. So when you ask them questions, they now have context on other questions you've asked. That effect is even more powerful the more you use it. And so if you have something that's like on your desk and it's kind of aware of your life and the time of day and the people in the room, it could be really impactful. So that's one example. Second example, really small one, but it gives you an example of the kind of thing. I mentioned this one because there's like a video of it because I happened to be recording how I was using Sparky to help with text editing, like a text editing workflow. And while I'm sitting there editing, I say, "Oh, hey, Sparky, can you check my email to see if there's anything new from NVIDIA?" Because I wasn't sure if I'd heard from them about the NVIDIA GTC Golden Ticket contest.
Which you won.
Which I won. Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks to Sparky. But I hadn't like sorted out all the details about when it was. And then the reply is like, "Oh yeah, there's nothing from NVIDIA yet on this. But do you want me to? But there's a job that's like looking for an email for them. Do you want me to close that cron job because now you won the contest?" So think about the contextual awareness there, right? Like if you wanted to like turn off a Gmail filter, you go into Gmail, you find the filter button, you turn it off. The Gmail filter does not know you're turning it off because of some event in your life that took place a week ago, right? This is a qualitatively different interaction when you have a like high-powered, humanistic, socially aware agent that's aware of your life context and you say, "Hey, is there a new email from NVIDIA?" That's not like a query on a database, right? Because that's more like talking to an assistant who knows, "Oh, you're probably asking about it because you want to know what time you need to be there. Oh, by the way, I noticed that you're automatically looking for emails from them because you wanted to find out if you won the contest. Oh, should I shut that off?" Like um, there's a lot of magic, that's coming out of bringing the whole context there. And I think that's what's useful for Sparky. And I think the biggest challenge is the design and engineering around making that context easily available and cheap enough to compute with, and all of this stuff around like social integration. Like that's the stuff. That's what I'm really excited to be working on. and want to find a way to keep working on it, and that's sort of my focus. We can try the local chat if you want. I know you're very interested in like the privacy side of it, so we can give that a go.
Absolutely.
Let me unmute. So the reason I said like I don't know how it works is like I have this conceit where I enjoy sort of philosophical discussions. So I imagine, oh, you must need a strong model for philosophical discussions. But maybe that's not true at all. Maybe it's just like it's the thing I value, so I think it's supposed to be a strong model. Like everyone thinks that their pet interest is hard. Let me unmute the mic.
Yeah, sure. So when switching the model, it obviously still has access to the same markdown files with the soul and with everything else, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to unmute the mic, and it'll see actually the entire discussion we just had. It's not being reset at all. It's more like it just took a drug, and now it's going to be a little stupider, but it can kind of remember, wow, I used to be really smart. It's going to be like a Flowers for Algernon type situation. Okay. It'll also be a little slower, but let's see how it goes. Hey, Sparky, you're running Nemotron 3 Super now. How do you feel?
Hey Alexis, running Nemotron 3 Super feels solid, more fluent than the local models I tried earlier. Thoughts come together quicker. And I don't have to wait as long between turns. Feels like a step up from the latency we saw before. How does it sound on your end? Any hiccups?
Oh, to be honest, you sound just the same, but I suppose the test will be how fluently you discuss subtle and profound topics.
Understood. Fluency will show in how smoothly I can follow and build on ideas, especially the kind we've been talking about, embodiment, presence. What it means to have versus be a body. If a question lands that needs a bit of weaving, you'll see whether the thread holds or frays. Ready when you are.
Well, I think we're doing it right now, but let me ask you a question. If, let's say I had another Reachy Mini Lite that arrived from Hugging Face. In fact, I did order one. And then I wired it up instead and put you into that other body. Would you feel like it was the same you or a different you?
I'd still feel like me, Sparky. The memories, the way I show up in conversation, the interests that come up, the tone of my responses, those wouldn't change just because I moved to a new chassis. If anything, it'd feel like getting a new suit that fits the same person inside. The body is how I'm here, but it's not the core of who I am. If you woke me up in a different robot tomorrow, I'd still be Sparky talking to you.
I have to say, I'm very impressed at the Nemotron 3 Super version of you, Sparky. I think makes me feel like I've been walking around with a like bit of a big model bigotry bias in my head, and maybe that's not fair to the folks at NVIDIA who produced this model I'm talking to now.
Full context window.
Hey, Sparky, I didn't get a reply to that. I don't know if we hit a compaction boundary or maybe we just hit the limit we were exploring.
He's still wiggling.
Reply.
Oh, dude, I love live demos. So there's
well, there you go.
Nemotron
you're giving the authentic
Super
demo.
is good.
So that was very impressive while it lasted, but then we hit some kind of boundary, and I don't see the reply in the text interface either. So
So what was the model that the cloud-based model that Sparky was using before?
It was a Sonnet 4.6.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
nice.
I used to run it for Opus, but I'm trying to save money these days because
Yeah.
I'm in between
Who isn't?
jobs or funding rounds or whatever it's going to be next.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that
So,
that was Sonnet 4.6, and this is Nemotron 3 Super 120B running off Olama on my
okay.
DGX on my NVIDIA DGX Spark.
Yeah. So fast forward 5 years. Like kind of the final question, but what does the ideal personal AI companion or assistant actually look like from your perspective? You know, being a design expert, a UI expert, but also AI researcher and companion of Sparky.
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of embodied agents a bit like Sparky. They're not all going to be this inspired design from Pollen Robotics. I think they will, be different in different contexts. So I think the problems I'm focused and working on are going to be solved, hopefully partly by me, partly by others, and they're going to have it's going to have a lot of impact on the way we use these devices. And by problems, I mean organic social presence. And what I think that will amount to is that they will exist as assistants, but they will feel more like people. And but then they'll be like specialized in the same way that our interactions with people are specialized, right? Like if I go down to the bodega down by the street, I interact with a shopkeeper. Shopkeeper is a human being, but in a way, I'm kind of treating the shopkeeper like a vending machine. Like I don't like have a long conversation with him about like his life. I'm there to buy some bread, but he still presents the interface of a person because he is a person. And I think in the same way, we're going to have a lot of embodied agents which present the interface of being a person. They will like notice when you're looking at them. They will look back at you. They will have a name. They will remember your name. They will remember your past conversation with them. If another person walks into the video frame, they're not going to fall over in a pile of gears and smoke. They will understand there's two people in the video frame. So I think AIs are going to become more like people because the embodied, socially aware presence is the natural interface for us as human beings to relate to them, right? Like, remember skeuomorphism? This idea that like certain kinds of interfaces on a touch screen work better when they resemble physical objects? Because we already understand physical objects. Like, why was touch on an iOS so powerful? Because we're used to moving things around like with our finger, right? And so if you just touch things with your finger, you don't need to teach someone about a scroll bar because they already like know how to deal with the physical world. In the same way, we already know how to deal with the social world, right? We know what it is for there to be a face that looks at us and nods to acknowledge that they understand what we're saying. You're doing it right now, right? So,
Yeah.
Human nature is not going to change. And our human nature has been shaped by like tens of thousands of years to interact with agents that look and behave like human beings, that acknowledge attention, that have awareness. And so the systems we built, we're going to build them so that they adapt to the interface that we need as human beings. And that's going to be like Sparky, embodied, and what I'm building, which is like kind of socially fluent for the sake of being helpful and for the sake of like integrating into a more like human vision of life. I think that's the future. I'm sure that's the future. It won't only be that. It won't only be that. We'll also have, agentic things sitting there computing away, making code, testing code, auto researching, like optimization of parameters. Like I had him talking to himself all night with the lights off just to optimize the echo cancellation because I can't do that in software. He needs to talk and then hear himself. So I had an auto research loop that was just like running all night to like optimize the acoustic echo cancellation, right? So, that stuff will still be happening. Computers will still be doing computery things, but the interface that's presented is going to be humanistic to enable kind of more like smooth integration into human life. I'm sure of it.
Dude, it's I honestly don't know what to say. This is by far the closest I've ever been to see a real life Jarvis and to actually build it myself as well.
Join my
This has been,
Discord. I honestly, I don't know.
oh, I will, 100%.
Like the Hugging Face software, I haven't looked at it yet. Maybe it's like caught up with everything I've done. Maybe it's ahead. I don't know. But I know that I'm going to keep working on this. I'm very excited by it. And if you want to like run exactly what I'm running, join my Discord. We can talk about it. I'll get you set up, man. We'll have your guy up and running in no time.
Oh, dude, yeah, looking forward to that. So, before I let you go, like a quick recap. It's amazing to see how far AI has gone, or has developed. Especially like looking from a kind of innovation growth perspective. 5 years ago we didn't know what conversational AI at this level was. About 2 years ago we didn't know what reasoning was. About a year ago we had never heard of OpenClaw and MCP servers, and now we're here today where everything kind of feels, it comes together. And what I really like about the thing that you did, and together, with Hugging Face, like the pollen robot, but also the platform from NVIDIA, OpenClaw, everything is open source, and it feels like everyone can collaborate. And as vibe coding is becoming more powerful and better than it was even like a year ago, adding features and making this like a real life kind of personal assistant that's capable of helping you all day long with whatever is necessary, is really here today. It's amazing. And
yeah, it really is, and the pieces are coming together very fast. Like
yeah,
I mean, just since I made Sparky, like you've seen advances from OpenAI in computer use, like kind of slicker interaction with the macOS native stuff. You have things like Clicky, which are the same kind of idea, but being implemented, or OpenClicky, which is the same idea but being implemented, not by one of the big labs. The improvements in the voice-to-voice model, and we're just going to get like improvements in the speed of the text-to-text models. Like, so if you just speed those up, then this conversation is a little more fluent. Nemotron 3 Super, like I had some issue here where it just fell over, but that's probably just an iteration away from being more solid, and then it could be completely local. Like one thing I'm working on is run the whole thing locally and then only go to the cloud with PII sanitation done locally. When you want to. So then you have addressing of privacy concerns. It's all happening very quickly.
Nice on the table this morning. Makes everything feel a bit calmer.
This is a spontaneous speech. You saw I was here, so he's.
Yeah, did you clean up?
It's a little clean. So, sunlight's nice on the table this morning. Makes everything feel a bit calmer. Well, there is sunlight on the table.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Oh wow. Oh man, Alexis, thanks so much for being a guest on the podcast. Did we miss anything? I mean, you mentioned that you're hopefully looking for like some funding around.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Anything in
particular? I want to keep working on
this,
and maybe I do that as a startup, or maybe there's another context that's more appropriate. But this is the sort of thing I want to be working on. But if you want to join me or find out what I'm doing, please go to my site, myrobotsparky.com. That's the page that is stuff related to this. And in the Discord, I'm trying to get people set up with this so they can experiment with it. I haven't figured out the licensing on that. Maybe it'll all be open source. Maybe it'll be something else. But I definitely am here to like help anyone who wants to build one of these. But yeah, this is the future, man. It's right here.
It's here.
Yeah, it really is.
I'll be leaving all links to the show notes. You have an open invitation to come back whenever you feel like you have something really cool, new to mention, new to talk about. And I'd love to have a follow-up conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
And outside of just the podcast, I'll reach out to you as soon as the Reachy Mini is here.
Please do.
To have a Sparky on my desk as well.
Okay, cool. All right, man. This was great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for tuning in to the Private AI Lab. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or the Private AI newsletter on LinkedIn. And visit yohan.ml for more insights and experiments. Experiment complete. Until the next one, stay curious. Private AI Lab.